Hello, everybody. My name is Jeremy, and welcome back to the Kanto region here once again in Viridian City. This week, we have a pretty exciting episode. Lot of action in this one. A very small area covered, which, for my timeline for this project is not great. But for you as a viewer, I think we got a good one here. A couple of really nice detailed builds. Starting the first one right now, this is a somewhat large bus station that we are working on. I say somewhat because, it is actually the size just about of the one in Aomori. That one, of course, is actually right next to the train station, and due to the scaling of this project and kind of the way that things shook out, I actually was not able to place it where it would have made more sense. But this is only like a block or two away from the train station. It's not too bad. I feel like the walk wouldn't be awful if you were trying to go from train to bus. This is where the bus from Pallet Town will be dropping people off. You'll start seeing it moving around in the cinematics, I think, maybe towards the end of the episode. I can't quite remember exactly when that starts happening. Here, I'm just using some bus props as placeholders to get the lines right in this space. I don't know that I did this exactly right, but I tried to copy it as close as I could from real life, and I think it ends up looking really neat regardless. The measurement here probably could have used a couple of revisions. I end up kind of making this a little bit asymmetrical. You'll see me kind of messing it up right here, trying to remedy it and realizing there's just too many decals at this point, and I'd have to start over again if I wanted to get it exactly right. I'm not that much of a perfectionist. Now I'm just placing down some numbers into these spaces, realizing as I do it that I don't know, my brain doesn't really work as well as it used to, and I kind of take a minute to just kind of contemplate whether I did, if I did the numbers in the right order, which is really never a place you want to see yourself get to. But that's it for the markings. Putting in a couple of buses here, just kind of maybe on their brakes. I don't know exactly how this works in real life at this real life bus station. Like, do the people who are getting on the buses walk over to the parking spaces and get into the buses? Do they pick it up from somewhere else? There's kind of what looks like a waiting area, so I kind of imagine that the bus pulls around to the waiting area. That's how it's going to work here anyway. Just for functional purposes, that's just going to have to be how it works. Over here, I have this bus depot prop that I'm using as sort of just like a general garage, maybe for like repair and cleaning of the buses, we could say. And like everything else in Viridian City, this is on a absurdly massive slope, so I have to kind of cut off the back of this area and put a big retaining wall up. And I feel like if you look at them from afar, these retaining walls look just fine, but if you inspect them a little too closely, you realize, like, these are really tall. They all have fences on them for safety purposes, but if you look at them, next to the scale of a building, you'd realize, like, some of these are, like, 30, 40, 50 feet high. I mean, these are gigantic walls, and probably not the safest things in the world, but that's neither here nor there. We got the garage down, we got the waiting area down, and then we're going to move on from this project just about. I just have to close it in with another one of these walls, and I'm about to do a little bit of landscaping around the sides of it. Here we go. Really super simple. I think, though, with kind of with the markings down and with all the tire marks and the patches and stuff, I think this ends up looking really nice, and I'm pretty happy with the way that it turned out. Now I just have this little block that I've got to kind of have to fill out, kind of some generic building here. This looks like it's a clothing store, maybe. I didn't actually Google Translate it, and even if I did, I imagine it was probably a brand name up on that big sign, so I don't know that it would have actually helped me a whole heck of a lot. But either way, it looks like from the windows that they're selling clothing, so I'm going to say that's probably what it is. And now over here, I'm just kind of negotiating with this slope. Once again, I have sort of this parking lot, and I'm going to kind of close in this whole section on its own little platform. And I'm enjoying the challenge of this, sure, but I think really the next time I'm in a bigger city, I'm going to really try to make it a little bit flatter, because this is just getting absurd, and I mean, I know that I know that the next town, which is Pewter City, I'm going to base that on a small town, I'm going to say, even though, you see it in the anime, you see it as sort of a bigger place. I know it has a couple of landmarks. There's the Science Museum, I believe, is there in the game. So, it's going to have a couple of significant landmarks, but no, I do want it to be smaller. It's going to be a smaller size place. So is Cerulean City, for that matter. I think the only really, truly big cities are going to be this one, Vermilion City, and I believe there's one more that's supposed to be pretty significant. There's one that, according to the Bulbapedia, is actually just based on Tokyo straight up. So that one's going to have to be pretty big, I imagine. I didn't, I guess, realize that there was more than one big city in the game. I hadn't thought about it that closely, but it does appear as though that's the case. So now we're on to the major part of the episode, the meat of it, if you will. This is going to be a significantly large hospital. I knew I needed a hospital in the city. We don't have one in Pallet Town. They only have a small medical clinic, and that's not really enough to service them. So I think a lot of people who are going in for major procedures, surgeries, and what have you, probably making the drive or bus ride from Pallet Town over here to Viridian City, which now that I'm kind of like a little more into the thick of it, I actually am pretty happy with the way that the scaling is looking. I'll try to show an overhead of it right now. It's not all the way there yet, but I think with some amount of farmland and playing with shapes of the valleys, I'll be able to make it look, the way that I want it to look in terms of the distance between these two places. It'll look more significant than it actually is. So this hospital, by the way, I'm taking direct inspiration from one of the several hospitals in Aomori, and it's kind of like right by the water. So it's interesting the way that it's kind of squeezed into a space, which is exactly what I needed for this project. This is very much squeezed into a strange little sliver of land that, if I had thought about it a little more, I probably could have found a bigger space for this. But I wanted it to be downtown. It made sense for it to be downtown, and this was the only space left for it, so I had to make it work. And I do think that in the end it does kind of work, even if it is a little bit space constrained. So this is sort of an underground area. This does exist in the real hospital that I was taking inspiration from. I don't know what it is there, but it looks like parking. There's actually no street view around this side of the building, so I can't exactly tell. But I'm saying for our purposes that it's a parking area down there, and that's primarily because I was not able to fit a lot of parking into this space, which is It's fair. That's usually why you would build underground parking. You're not actually able to, on the surface, build the amount of parking that you will actually need to service this big of a building. And now I'm using just some cubes to actually make this building functional, because overall, this thing is pretty much entirely made of procedural objects, which, if you're a Cities Skylines person, those are not functional. They don't actually do literally anything. And, that actually brings me to a question that I am curious about. This series has been running for a little while now, and my numbers are growing. These aren't getting crazy amounts of views, but people are tuning in, and I am getting new subscribers every week. And I'm curious if any of you are here from Pokemon. If you are not here from the Cities Skylines community, if you just kind of happened upon this as a Pokemon person, let me know in the comments if you have some sort of a unique sort of a way that you found this series. I'm very curious. So this area that I'm working on right now, I'm saying is sort of this is kind of like the main drop-off area. This is the like emergency drop-off area. Probably this is where, even though functionally speaking, the ambulances are mostly coming from under the building, I'm going to say that this is, actually in universe. This is where the ambulances are dropping people off. I think that's probably what it is in real life. That's the only thing that would really make sense for this. And it's like this at pretty much every hospital I've ever been to in my life. So I'm going to say that that's what's happening here. And I think it looks really nice. The combination of colors of these kind of like seafoam green rooftops with kind of the blue trim of the building and this like very, very vividly red brick. It looks pretty cartoony, but again, this is kind of part of the aim of this series. I'm definitely tuning a lot of my design choices towards making things, a little bit over the top, a little bit cartoony in color and in general spirit, I guess would be the best way to put it. This is kind of an annoying little thing here, but using these procedural object squares, you kind of just you got to play with them a lot to get them to make any sort of sense, and they're just not super easy to do that with. But we manage, we get it, and again, I think it ends up looking pretty nice. So now I'm coming around the back of the building and kind of just looking for little clues as to what is in various places, what could be in various places. So over here, there's this like little loading dock looking thing, which I've decided is kind of just like a back area for certain types of service vehicles that would be coming in and out of the hospital that don't, they're not emergency vehicles, and they're not, they're not patients. So they need their own little place to come in and out. And now we're building the only surface parking lot for this building. I actually end up adding a parking garage off camera, just as sort of a last little filler thing before I recorded the cinematics. And that's going to be kind of off to the side of here. But this is actually the only surface parking for the building. So, maybe not the most realistic thing I've ever done in this game, but I think it's okay. It looks nice enough, and this combined with the underground parking and the parking garage, I think is probably sufficient for parking in a not so driving oriented city. Again, we're kind of picturing the bus being a pretty big method of transportation here, and the city is pretty compact and walkable and bikeable. So, maybe a lot of people are walking to the hospital, we could say. I don't know, something like that. So, over here we just have this kind of like big grass platform that kind of nicely sets it into the slope on the back here. Cuts off a couple of the balconies, but I think that's okay. And now we're just going around doing some landscaping of the building, trying to keep things pretty diverse, actually. I've noticed myself kind of, maybe as a crutch, we could say, I'm using a lot of the same trees everywhere, which, you know, is fair. That's how biomes work. But I imagine like stuff that's landscaped, stuff that's actually planted on purpose by people, you're going to see a lot more diversity in that sort of foliage. So I am trying to be more mindful of that going forward. It's something I would recommend thinking about in your own builds, you know, what is naturally in this place and what is kind of artificially put there. Anyway, now I'm just kind of doing some final details to the building. I added some huge HVAC things on the roof, and over here I put a little auxiliary building and some stuff that I'm just calling like a general power generator, I guess we could say. And final thing, I have this big red square that I wanted to break up a little bit, so I'm putting a small garden in here. And that's just about it for the hospital. I think it looks really nice. I'm pretty happy with the way that this came out, and when you see it kind of set into the rest of the city, you know, I think it adds something really nice. It's definitely the biggest building here, which you know, maybe was a bit of a misplay on my part, but I think it's all right. And then this is the last thing of the episode. I'm kind of just like, I have this little empty space here that I got to fill out. These buildings are super long, and they make it pretty far into the block, and I didn't really want to deal with the terrain issues it would cause to try to put buildings behind it, so I decided to just kind of extend out their property line a little bit with these little base platforms, and then I'm going to just duplicate these buildings behind themselves and just kind of like make a shortened version of them just to finish it out in a convenient way. And now I have this little alley here that kind of cuts through from the main road coming off of the highway, and I just put another store there. And now we're putting the so far one and only Shinto shrine in Viridian City. There are some really like interesting, compact ones around Aomori, and I imagine this is probably true in most Japanese cities. You find these sort of strangely compact little ones just kind of tucked away. So I just did something a little bit like that here just to fill in the space. And that's going to just about do it for the episode, folks. Thank you so much for watching my show. Thanks for spending your Friday with me. I hope you have a wonderful week. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. My name is Jeremy. Find me on Twitter at JeremyThunder. Check out my podcast, Generation Loss. If you are new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell icon, like the video, comment, do all the stuff you're supposed to do. Become a channel member for early access to episodes now in this sort of longer periods between episodes. It'll be pretty valuable to you. So see you next time.